Lepore, I guess that takes us now into our playoff preview.
Let's go.
Versus Habs. Let's fucking go.
It's that Christmas song. It's the most wonderful time of year, man.
Unbelievable, man. First time these teams have met in the playoffs since 1979. I mean, hockey fans are just absolutely...
What more do you want? What more do you want?
I mean, this
to
is
make you go gray and lose sleep at night that a Habs Leaf series, right?
This is unbelievable, man. Everyone's fired up for this series. So let's break it down, Lepore. And I'll start things off just kind of giving a brief rundown of the season series. So the Leafs and Habs played 10 games this season. The Leafs won the season series 7-2-1, outscoring the Habs 34-25 in total and 24-17 at 5-on-5. So obviously the Leafs dominated this season series. There's a lot of different stats we can look at. Montreal, the last 23 games of the season was terrible, quite frankly. They were 8-13-2 over their last 23 games and were outscored by 29 goals.
I didn't even know it was that bad. Okay.
So they are playing their worst hockey of the season at the worst time.
I'd like to see their record. I'm sure it's been posted, their record since the coaching change, but
it's not pretty. I've seen some tweets about it. I haven't checked exactly what their record is since Ducharme took over, but it's just not very good. And also, Lepore, another stat I wanted to bring your way. Did you know that the 2021 Montreal Canadiens, based on points percentage, are the worst team the Leafs will face in the playoffs in 25 years. Wow. So the last team that had
considering we played like a top 5 team all the time and we've missed the playoffs a lot, so that stat's kind of skewed, but okay, I'll take it.
So it's the worst team they've played in 25 years. You have to go back to the 1996 St. Louis Blues.
The Gretzky Blues?
With Brett Hull and Wayne Gretzky.
Okay.
And that season, the Leafs were the 4 seed in the conference and the Blues were the 5 seed. They were both bad teams. They had 80 points in 82 games.
I was going to say, the funny part is the Blues beat us.
Exactly. The Blues beat the Leafs in
Gretzky,
6
but
that
okay.
season.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have to go back that far to find a team. Now, this is just based on points percentage. Okay. I'm not getting into any of the underlying numbers, just based on record. The Habs are the worst team the Leafs will face in a playoff series in 25 years, and that spans 18 playoff series. So
I guess if you think about it, it's like, okay, Ottawa always had a good regular season team, like the Flyers teams going back into the 2000, like Carolina, those
New Jersey.
teams. They're always really Pittsburgh, like they were always playing really good teams. But yeah, throw that stat out there, Bruno. Why not? How'd you find that?
I just decided to go look through. I was very curious.
That's amazing.
Because I'm like, you know what? The Habs have a pretty bad record this season. I'm like, let me go back and check like some of the teams that the Leafs face. And I just went to go look at all their regular season records. And I'm like, oh, wow. The worst team they played in the playoffs in a quarter century. So Lepore, if the Leafs fuck this one up.
Bruno woke up in the middle of the night. He's like, you know what? I'm going to look up.
If people that know me, they would know that I'm kind of crazy like that when it comes to looking up weird stats and different facts and information. But
you realize what you've done. Now you've given us more embarrassment. If the Leafs do not win this series,
can you imagine? I mean, the table could not be set any better than it is right now for the Leafs to finally win a first round playoff series in the Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner era. Like if they screw this up, Lepore, just based on how obviously the Leafs dominated the division this season, and not just dominated the division, they had an insane record against the playoff teams in this division.
Yeah.
The Leafs were 19-7-3 against the Jets, Oilers, and Habs this season. So they showed that, you know, they could beat every playoff team in this division. They outscored every playoff team in this division. The Habs are playing terrible hockey at the moment. Like, could anything go wrong here, Lepore? Like, just looking at this series and zooming out, like, sure, you could say the Habs have pulled off upsets in the past. We saw that run in 2010. We saw what they did last year, beating the Penguins in the qualifying round after, you know, getting invited to the 2014 return to play format as essentially the lowest seed in the playoffs. So we know that when you look back at history, that the Canadiens have showed that they can pull off big upsets. But do you see an upset coming at all in this spot?
Okay, so here comes my breakdown on the Toronto Maple Leafs round 1 series versus the Montreal Canadiens. To your point about what Montreal can do to the Toronto Maple Leafs in a series, if I'm stepping outside the box and looking in, taking the Leaf hat off, I have a hard time thinking that this team can beat the Leafs 4 out of 7. I think the Leafs showed throughout the regular season against all the teams in the division that they are the best team north of the border. And I said it before on this show, if this team does not find itself in the semifinals, it will be because of them. They are the best team in this division, top to bottom. They're the team that is best built to win now. So if they do not beat the Montreal Canadiens and they do not win that second round, it is because of the players on the ice. The right team has been put in place and the timing is right. So as I said, I have a hard time seeing the Montreal Canadiens beating this Leafs team 4 times out of 7 games. But I do think that Montreal is a team that they're a proud team. I think they're going to come in, and I don't want to hear the whole thing. I hate when people say that the take of a team has nothing to lose is insignificant. No, Montreal coming in, no one is picking them to win this series. No one is picking them to go on a deep playoff run. There is no pressure on the Montreal Canadiens. I'm sure they're going to use that in their locker room as ammunition as best they can. And I think this is going to be a lot more difficult of a series for the Toronto Maple Leafs than people are predicting. That being said, I do have the Leafs winning this series. I have Leafs in 6 is my call. What I think is so important, and this is going to sound overly simplistic, but what I think is so important, both on the side of giving confidence to the Leafs and smashing the confidence and hope to the Montreal Canadiens, is game 1. So big. If the Leafs win game 1, it goes even further to my point of, can Montreal beat the Leafs 4 times out of 7 games? If the Leafs at home get a win, well, can Montreal beat Toronto 4 times out of 6? Like, now you're getting to a point where if you are the weaker opponent from a talent perspective, that's a big ask. So I think that is so big for the Leafs, like numerically, to win that game, and also give yourself confidence and take some confidence away from the Montreal Canadiens. Don't give them a thought that they think they can win this series, right? And even within that game, I know it's easy for me to say, but fucking dominate that game, smash that confidence, like try to humiliate them. And now I know I'm going a little overboard with as a Leafs fan, but I just think there's so much importance in that first game. But like I said, I do have the Leafs prevailing. I think the Montreal Canadiens put up a heck of a fight. There's a lot of guys on that roster who are, I hate to sound cliche and cheesy, but are built for the playoffs. They have Weber, they have Gallagher. If Price is going to play how many games, we don't know, but you don't want to face Carey Price. I don't care if he's barely played this year, if he's playing injured, you don't want to play against him. I have Leafs in a difficult series, 6 games. What do you think, Bruno?
I love that prediction, Lepore, and my prediction is almost the exact same as that.
That's not fun.
I have the Leafs in 5.
I thought you might say 5 for some reason. Like, Bruno, okay, so we're not exactly.
I have the Leafs in 5, and Lepore, you mentioned a really good point, and I think it's the only thing really working in the favor of the Habs in this series is that all of the pressure is on the Leafs. And listen, you think these Leafs players don't understand the narrative at play here? All the times that they've lost in the first round.
Big.
You could make the argument that this will be the most pressure-packed series of maybe all the series the Leafs play in the playoffs this season. Because just getting over this initial hurdle with all the narratives and all the jokes that have been flying around, about this team for the last number of years, like, they have to win this first round series.
Yeah, for the franchise. This is franchise changing if they do not win this series.
There is so much pressure, not just on the players, but on Kyle Dubas, on Brendan Shanahan, on Sheldon Keefe. There is immense pressure on the Leafs because everyone and their mother is expecting them to win this playoff series. So
yeah,
when you look at it through that lens, you could see that, guess what? The Habs are going to come out and they're going to have no pressure. They're going to be flying around. They know that they're the underdogs. And I think that could really propel that team to maybe, shock the Leafs for a couple of games. But yeah, when you just look at the totality of it, and Lepore, you said it, is this team really going to beat the Leafs 4 out of 7 times when they only beat the Leafs 3 out of 10 in the regular season and twice in regulation.
I was going to ask you, because you said the Leafs record was 7-2-1 against Montreal.
Yeah. So the Habs beat the Leafs twice in regulation in 10 games.
Okay.
And now they got to go beat the Leafs 4 times in 7 games.
And how many times I know how many times we beat them the first game in overtime. Were there any others?
I believe we beat the Habs. I want to say at least once in overtime. It might be
the first
twice.
Game was the Riley one. I think it was Tavares to Riley, the 2-1. So whatever it was like say 6-2-2, like if you actual ties. But like that's kind of how I want to see it. Yeah.
And when you look at it like that, it's just, that's an uphill battle, man, for this Montreal Canadiens team. And listen, I know the Habs are getting healthy, and Habs fans tell me all the time, like, Gallagher's coming back and playoff Carey Price. But guess what? The Leafs dealt with a lot of injuries this season as well. I mean, I've run this down.
I keep forgetting we're getting Hyman. Like
Hyman hasn't played in 2 or 3 weeks. Zach Bogosian is out. And I think, who knows when he's going to be back in the playoffs. William Nylander was on the COVID protocol list this year. There was a stretch during the season where Matthews literally couldn't take a shot because his wrist was hurting him. He missed 5. I believe Matthews missed 4 or 5 games this year. Wayne Simmons missed a chunk of the season. Joe Thornton missed a chunk of the season with fractured ribs. Foligno was injured at one point. So I'm just saying, for the Habs fans that are saying, oh, the Habs are finally healthy. Well, guess what? The Leafs are finally healthy too. So, you can look at the injury situation all you want and say the Habs are going to be a different team come, game 1. But at the end of the day, this Leaf team is one of the best teams in the NHL this season. And that's why I got them in 5, Lepore. So any final thoughts on this series before we move on to the next one?
No, it's just, I mean, books have been written about the embarrassing moments that have occurred throughout the history of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Losing this series based on the way this team is built, based on the type of season they've had, and the fact that they're playing the Montreal Canadiens, this would be right up there, man. This would be right up there to like the things we could look back on and tell our kids, like, yeah, this is the history of the Toronto Maple Leafs. So we both predicted it not to happen, but
we wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, none of us would be surprised
if something wacky and insane happened and they ended up losing this series.
Yeah, 4 straight, or the
most Toronto Maple Leafs thing ever.
Yeah.